Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rebuild You podcast. Well, if this is your first time listening, it's not a welcome back, but it is a welcome back to the Rebuild You podcast because I have been on pause for some time now. I'm not even going to try to remember how long, but we have been on pause and I am hitting play again. And I am so excited. This is a special, truly special episode for me for a few reasons. So I'm going to break it down for you. So, this is going to be my 50th episode that I'm uploading. And this year I will be turning 50. So, I am making a commitment to myself, okay, to upload 50 episodes between now and my 50th birthday. So I want to get to 100 episodes this year. That is like my commitment to me. That is my birthday gift to me. But also, even bigger than both of those things, I know it's a calling. It is obedience. I know that God has been calling me back, has been reminding me of this space and this purpose that He has given me and this platform. So, more than anything, this is just truly an act of obedience for me in coming back and hitting play again. So, this episode is special for a lot of reasons, and this is what I'm calling it. I am hitting play again, hit play again. That's the name of this episode. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So, let's see. We have been on break. And the reality is, and this really is just going to lead into my first point, is that there's a certain point in our lives, whether it's a movie, whether it's in your career, whether it's in your marriage, whether it's any relationship, right? There comes a time that we sometimes will hit the pause button. And this past year, I had pause on a lot of things. One of them being my podcast, the Rebuild You podcast. And there were a lot of reasons why I needed to pause and I needed to just like take a break. But let's just talk about some of the reasons that we pause in life, right? So let's take it to like the simplest term or the simplest one that I think we will hit pause on: our show, right? We could be watching a show, a movie, something that we could be listening to, and we will hit the pause button for different reasons, right? Sometimes you need a potty break. I've been with my grandkids for the past couple days, so just go with me. So, potty break, right? Or we need to get a snack. We need to answer the door. We're answering the phone. We're responding to something, right? And sometimes we miss something or we need to rewind and like watch it again. You might be with some girlfriends and you're like, hold on, pause it. What just happened, right? And you're processing. So there's a lot of reasons why you might pause something that you're watching, right? And in life, it's truly the same thing. You might put a pause on something that you're working on. You may have, or I have done this. We might pause a book that we're writing. We might put a pause on our business, building our business or doing something that we love doing, right? Sometimes it's a hobby. Sometimes we can put a pause on things for financial reasons. There's so many reasons why we just sometimes stop, right? And sometimes the reasons are more excuses, right? I've had plenty of those. And sometimes they're not excuses, right? It's really life happening and there's truly a reason behind, purpose behind the pause, right? So this past year, um the pause for me really had a lot to do with burnout. It had a lot to do with my need to rest and reset. And this past year, really past year or two, I have been on this healing journey, realizing that there were just areas of my life that I really wanted to strengthen. Um, I've been working on my healing for a long time, um, over 10 years, right? But this past year or two, I was really diving deeper, and I was also really helping people around me to work on their healing journey. And even that was a lesson for me, because in this past year, I was doing acupuncture. I started seeing a massage therapist. There were different things that I started doing to really help my healing, not just on like an emotional and mental level, but on a physical level. Because I have had chronic pain for years. I have chronic pain in my spine. I have degenerative, not I have. I have chronic pain, but I've been diagnosed with like degenerative disc. Uh, I try to be really careful with the words that I choose because I don't want to claim certain things, and I'm believing God for my healing in it. So, this was a diagnosis that I received, and so I deal with that. So, I started acupuncture, I started seeing a massage therapist, and I've had just, blood work done, different things done. So, I really started to work on myself physically more so than anything. And I also started helping family members, and I mean, like, all my kids went to like a healing retreat, and I was helping my mom get acupuncture and taking her to that to help her. But the one thing that I learned even in that process was that I am responsible for me. And even in that process of trying to help others, which I'm always doing, I had to really have a wake up call one day and realize that if I continue to try to help everyone else, like, when you're on the plane, like putting in the oxygen mask on someone else and not putting it on myself first, chances are that I may not even be able to get the mask on them because I didn't help myself first. And now I don't have enough oxygen and I'm passed out or whatever. Something's wrong with me, right? And they can't help me. I'm the one that can help them. So, just really digging into this space and this place in my life of realizing I need to help me. And this even meant from like, even from a financial standpoint of realizing how I would get myself to the point of having a difficult time financially because I would help everyone to the point of hurting myself or hurting um, our family financially, but just to make sure someone else was good. So it's really been a time of healing certain things, really digging in to see, like, to ask myself and to journal and reflect and to read about why I would do the things that I was doing. So just diving deeper into my healing was really important to me. I was burned out because I was so busy doing this. So 2 years ago, I had a business group, I had a life group, was doing one-to-one coaching, and I had a few events like or like webinars or online things. So I just had so many things going, and my weeks were full. And I was still working my 9 to 5. So it was also exhausting to me, even though I will say a lot of times my coaching sessions or my groups, they do pour into me because I love watching lives transform. It still was me pouring out, right? So we hear this term so many times, right? Like we can't pour from an empty cup, and we hear all of these. But the truth of the matter is, for someone who's like me, um, we know this, but we will just continue to figure out how to get a few drops so we can pour into someone else. And so, again, it's just been truly a purpose filled pause of really diving in and setting boundaries. I'm still working on it, like, have not reached this point of or place of perfection, right? Still working on it. But this past year has been just a year of healing, a year of setting boundaries, a year of releasing and letting so many things go. I looking back, just even like where I was a year ago, we had our house was full. We had a full house. We were helping a lot of family members, and I'm one that people know. Like they'll say things like friends and family will be like you should open up an orphanage, or you're like the Carrie, the Vasquez Inn, right? Because we'll just have like our doors open to people, family members who are in need. And I love that. And like Carlos and I, my husband and I, we love to help our family and our friends. And so those things, it wasn't anything that really came between us, because we would just look at each other and like, someone needs help, we're going to help, right? But it doesn't change the fact that it takes a toll on you. And there is an effect to that decision that's made, to that servant heart that we have had, right? It's a sacrifice, right? At the end of the day. So this past year has been a year of like just shedding, releasing, letting go of a lot of things, working through healing. And so it was a pause that was so needed. And again, aside from my groups, a year ago, whatever, year and a half ago, I was also doing my podcast. So all of these things required my time, my energy, space, all the things. And it was just time to stop. And I knew a year ago that what God was calling me to do was just to take a moment. Now, did I rest as much as I could have, should have, all the things, right? No. However, I took a solo trip, I think once or twice in the last year, where I did just go away. I went to like Ocean City, Maryland, I think was my last one that I went on. So I do always try to do those reset trips. But I will say that I have been still serving in different ways and in different capacities, right? Like this year alone, I went to Colombia and Honduras, both missions trips. And that is just a different way that I've been also pouring in to people and caring for people, and just being in missions and in ministry. So there has also been like a slight shift in just how I'm serving, not so much serving from like one to one coaching and things of that nature. But stay tuned, because some of that is coming back, but in an intentional way. So there is purpose in our pause, right? And a pause is, it's a good place to be. Sometimes we get discouraged in the pause and we feel like we failed. I know that I felt that way so many times. We might start to feel like self less confident, right? Of what we're doing, and we might start to question like, should was I supposed to really be doing this? Is this what I really need to do? Should I take another route or do something else, right? Because the reality was, even in that pausing time, which was needed, there was also a lot of questions for me as to whether or not I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, whether or not this was really my calling. Um, like even like with the podcast, like are people even listening? You know, do people care? Do they really is this what I should do? Right? So there were just a lot of questions in that time. And during this time of pause, I think God was really just working on me and getting me to this place of like just to listen. I've had a hard time at times with just being consistent, right? And I've talked about this in other podcasts with just a struggle of being consistent in my quiet time with God, in being consistent with this podcast, right? Being consistent and then feeling like a failure. And it's like a snowball effect, right? Like you start to go down this hill, this mountain, whatever, of thoughts, right? And a lot of times these thoughts are lies, right? And you start to go down this mountain, and that little snowball that you had in your hand, there's like a gnat flying around, that snowball that you had that you just like dropped, now it's just like getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the truth is that there's sometimes a lot of lies that we start to believe. And when that happens, it starts to pull us away, further and further away from being where God has called us to be, right? So I had a little of that in this past year. So in struggling sometimes with being consistent, with a lot of times with being consistent, just being in the word, feeling discouraged, and just struggling, it made me realize that sometimes we start to believe those lies, and like we don't realize that we are more consistent than we think we are. We don't realize that, like, for example, with me, it was like I'm talking to God all day, right? Um, and I'm reading the Bible, like going to scripture for certain things to really seek out what God is saying to me. That does not replace, which is where I have been in this space of like, no, what does intentional, consistent time with God look like? Waking up in the morning and this is our time. So that has been more of my the type of relationship that I want to have with God, of just like Carlos and I, we will usually we try to have coffee in the morning, right? Together. Even though he hasn't really been drinking real coffee, he's into this like mushroom coffee now. But we'll sit down and have coffee together. And that's what we try to do every morning. And that's what I have been saying, God, this is what I want with you every morning. I want to have coffee with you every morning. I want to sit with you every morning and be in your presence. So just learning to have grace and understand that not every day will look the same, and that's okay. But are we coming back to a place of obedience? Are we coming back to a place of being still and listening for God's voice? Am I coming back to a place of hitting play again and knowing that no, this is part of my purpose? So much so to the point that I just felt like God was like, this needs to be your number one priority right now, is hitting play, doing your podcast. And I couldn't really understand the why behind it, but I didn't have to, right? Like I could understand it, but I guess the point was that I was like, am I really making an impact, right? Why is this so important? And more important than just me thinking that was the obedience piece. And I've been talking about, like on the other side of obedience, there's breakthrough and the importance of obedience. And let me just say that when it comes to obedience, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but when it comes to obedience, I will say this, that um, when God is calling you to something, and you decide to do what God is calling you to do, when you decide I'm going to be obedient and do what I'm asked to do, obstacles are going to get in the way. Do not let those obstacles be a mistaken for up this is not God's will, because to think that being in God's will means it's going to be easy and it's going to happen easily is not a reality. And I'm going to explain like even just this reaction that I just had. And this is one of the perfect examples of how obedience does not mean things are going to be easy. I committed to coming back in July for this podcast. And I came back from Honduras. I think it's been 2 weeks or so. And ever since I came back from Honduras, it's been one thing after the other. I was sick. I had COVID. I've been busy at work and, always like having my grandkids and doing things like that. So it has been a pretty difficult past couple weeks. To top everything off, we have had a mouse issue in my house. And it's like, I was like, didn't even want to talk about it because it's embarrassing. Like, who wants to be like, I have mice in my house? Like, I have mice in my house. And I'm terrified of them, like, terrified. So I have tried to record and do like bulk recording multiple times. And every single time there's been some issue. And usually it's been a mouse issue. And like where I'm like recording and I think I hear something or stuff is happening. So Chewy is in his bed over here and he just moved, and out of the corner of my eye, like I saw that moves him move, and I had a moment of like, oh my now I have yet to ever see one walk around, but we've caught them. So um I say that to say, not because I want to share that really, but I say that to say that it's the perfect example for me anyway right now of how obstacles will get in the way and will make you think, not even like either make you think like, yeah, I'm not doing the right thing or making the right decision, because look at all these obstacles that I'm facing. Like right when I started recording this big mosquito just flew by me. And if you know me, two things that I hate are mice and mosquitoes. Like, why? Why? So, after I'm done recording this, I'm going to be on the hunt for this mosquito because I hate mosquitoes. So, don't think that obedience means life gets easier. It usually can even get a little harder. Um, because there's just so many things that start to happen, right? And if you are a believer and you believe that the enemy does not want to see you doing what God is calling you to do, or doing work that is going to help people and help people walk in their purpose and their calling, and help people, like you see me like looking around anyway, help people um you know seek God and want to follow God and want to hear from God, like, it's not going to be easy. It's not. But it's so worth it. It's so worth it. There's no other place I would rather be. I don't want to be with the mice or mosquitoes, but if this is where God has called me to be, I'm here. I am here. So that's that. So if I seem a little jumpy, at least for those watching on the video, that is why. Um, but we're going to get through this. so, so the last point that I wanted to make is that it is not too late to hit play again. Uh, in life, we will think it's too late. I know that I have thought that so many times. So many times I've been, I feel like I start and I stop and you know, and I start to feel like I failed, and then I feel like it's just too late to go back to this. Um People are going to say this or think that, or whatever the things that we tell ourselves, right? And even the things that people might say. But getting to this place that you're just like, who cares? Who cares? Who cares what people say? Who cares what some might say or think, right? Because the the purpose, the reality, the truth of the matter is that at the end of the day, the person that needs to hear, it is not too late. You can hit play again. It is not too late. It's not too late to get back to that purpose that you once had, that you thought that was it, and then something happened and you fell off and you stopped doing the thing. Whether it was writing your book, starting your business, um, a new career, right? Going back to school, whatever that thing has been for you, it's not too late. Take this as if you want to say, call it your sign, whatever you want to call it, but just take this as your nudge, your pat on the back, your notification, right? To get back to it, right? And just do it do it again, right? Like, it's not so much, it's like I was saying, like, oh, should I call this a relaunch? Should I? And I'm like, how many relaunches am I going to have? I'm like, no, I'm not calling this a relaunch, right? And realized, like, this is when it kind of hit me, like, hit play again. Like, we can pause, we can hit the pause button in life because it's a part of life, and that's okay. And sometimes we need to grow and learn some things. We need rest. There's a lot of things that we need, right? And when we come back so much stronger. We come back more prepared, ready to do the thing that we are called to do. So I just want to encourage you to get back to your VCR, your DVD, whatever it is, your Walkman. Um, I'm really dating myself, right? I told y'all I am going to be 50 this year. So, but get back, press play again, hit play again, get back to your career, get back to writing that book, and be committed, make a commitment to yourself that you are going to get back to it and you're going to accomplish, you're going to complete the goal, you're going to uh, build the business, finish the book, that you're going to do it, right? You're going to see it to completion. Um, so I just want to encourage you to that. So if you would like to join me on this challenge or this commitment, right? That between now and the end of the year, you are going to be working on whatever it is that you have been called to work on, right? Whatever it is you've been called to pick back up again. Make a commitment with me and let's work together over the next couple months, right? To finish the year off strong, to complete the thing or to get back on track with the thing that we have been called to. I was sitting back the other day as I am preparing to come back to my podcast, and I was looking at my downloads and I'm looking at the different countries that listen to my podcast, all these things. And I just had this moment of, like, I'm almost to 6,000 downloads, and uh, the US is not in my top 5 of countries that listen to my podcast. And as I'm watching and looking at, like, Japan being the number one um, place to listen to my podcast, I was just had this moment of awe, of gratitude, of just so many things, right? That I was feeling in that moment when I realized that here I'm making this podcast like about my business, or I'm making it about me, or I'm making it about whatever I was making it about, right? And in that moment, as I'm watching, looking at these numbers that aren't like crazy numbers, right? But like they're not just numbers. They're people. It's people that are listening, that are receiving, that I am able to pour into all over the world. And so as I'm looking at, that like Japan was in there, Germany and Taiwan, like I'm looking at all these different countries and I'm thinking, wow, people are listening all over the world and I'm able to impact and help people all over the world, and God's able to use me. And it was just a humbling moment, and it was truly a moment that I was like, hey, like there was purpose in your pause, but there's so much more purpose in your calling in the Rebuild You podcast. So I am so excited to be back, and I can't wait to get some really great guests on the podcast to share their rebuild story, to share their stories of their lives and just how they hit play again. So I'm really excited about that. So let me know. I would love to hear if you, whether you're listening to this on YouTube or whatever platform you're listening to, if you are able to share and comment and have a discussion with me. Tell me where you're listening from. And if you can tell me what is one thing that you are going to commit to, right, between now and the end of the year or the next 3 months that you're going to commit to doing, right, and to coming back to and completing. There's still time to really end this year strong. So I am so excited to be back. Thank you so much for listening today. Um, don't forget, if you enjoyed this episode, to share it with someone you know that would benefit for it. Um, Hit that like button if there's a like button somewhere around there. And as always, I just pray that you all are blessed, and doing well and safe. And I look forward to the next episode. All right. Well, take care and be blessed. See you soon. So, if you just listened to my 50th episode, thank you. Now, I do want to ask for a favor. Please take a moment and subscribe to my YouTube channel, where I will be sharing my podcast, but I will also be sharing just lifestyle, health, wellness, and all the things, and my moments of being a grandma and just the things that I do. So take a moment, subscribe, share it with someone that you know would enjoy this type of content. I'm going to be sharing over on my channel, um, how I am going to a minimalist wardrobe. So that is a video that is coming very soon. So I'm going to be emptying out my closet, which isn't even that big, but I'm excited about emptying it out and all of my drawers. And yeah, moving to a capsule wardrobe and having a minimal wardrobe. So that's just one of some of the things that I'm going to be sharing on my channel. So, along with the Rebuild You podcast, those things are coming. So, I would love to have you listening in and joining me on this journey. All right, take care.